They say, old age earns you respect, but life taught me that love can forget its roots. I'm Joan Whitmore, born in 1957 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Back in 2023, at age 66, I was invited to my only son's wedding, and from the moment I opened that envelope, something inside me broke. I felt invisible, discarded, but then something happened that cracked the very ground beneath my feet. Today, at 68, sitting in a quiet cabin in Vermont, I'm finally sharing this because too many mothers keep their betrayal bottled up. If you're listening, drop your city below and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. The wedding invitation arrived on a Thursday morning. It was sleek cream gold cardstock, embossed names, delicate floral trim, but my name? Just Joan Whitmore. No mom, no mother of the groom, nothing. Like I was just another guest. I stared at it for a long time, reading the text over and over, hoping maybe I'd missed something. I hadn't. I still went. I had raised Derek mostly on my own after his father died when he was 12. I skipped vacations, sold my jewelry, and picked up weekend shifts at the pharmacy just to make sure he finished college debt-free. So I went. I bought a soft blue dress, elegant but modest, and had my hair done in tight curls, just the way he liked it when he was a boy. When I arrived at the reception, I was handed a tiny white card with the words Table 14. I smiled and asked one of the ushers, "Where's that located?" He didn't meet my eyes as he pointed toward the back near the kitchen doors, by the clatter of dishes and the exhaust fan. It smelled like onion grease and mop water. I walked past tables with beautiful centerpieces and monogrammed wine glasses, where Derek's new in-laws and even distant family were seated close to the couple. And me? I was alone. There was no place card. Just a cold metal chair next to a half-filled tray return station. I sat there in silence, folding the hem of my dress in my lap. When the food came around, I noticed everyone at the other tables getting hot plate steak, sautéed vegetables, freshly baked rolls. Mine? A lukewarm slice of chicken with wilted lettuce, and a dinner roll so hard it could break glass. I watched as Derek stood at the front, microphone in hand, giving his toast. He thanked Megan's parents for their support, his friends for their encouragement, even his college professors for shaping him into a man. But he never once looked my way. Not even a nod. Not a single thank you to the woman who took 3 jobs to pay for his tuition. After the speeches, I left early. I told the waiter I had a headache. Elite. The truth was, my heart was breaking so loudly it drowned out the music. I returned home that night feeling like a ghost in my own life. I kicked off my shoes, sat in the dark, and cried into my hands until my chest ached. That's when I saw the letter on my counter, a slim, official envelope from the bank. I opened it with trembling fingers. It was a notification of a home equity loan. $180,000. Taken out in my name. I froze. I never took out any loan. My house had been paid off for nearly 10 years. Confused, I called the bank the next morning. "Yes, Mrs. Whitmore," the woman said politely. "The documents were signed 3 weeks ago. Electronically, in fact. Everything checks out." I told her I'd never signed anything. She paused. "Well," she finally said, "it was all submitted through your email. Except I don't use email for banking. I barely use it at all." My stomach flipped. I asked for the paperwork. She sent it over. And there it was. My name. My signature, only it wasn't mine. Not the way I sign. Not even close. The digital trail showed it came from an email I didn't recognize, but it had Derek's birth year in it. I didn't want to believe it. Not yet. So I checked my bank transactions. I hadn't noticed them before, but there were little withdrawals, $500 here, $1,000 there over the last 3 months. Then larger ones. $10,000 to a luxury travel agency, $6,200 to a jewelry store, and a whopping $21,000 wired to a hotel in Santorini. That's when I remembered what Megan had posted on Facebook 2 weeks earlier. Honeymoon of our dreams. Thanks to God and new beginnings. That dream honeymoon? I funded it. Without even knowing. My hands shook. I sat in my kitchen, staring at the fridge I'd bought 20 years ago. The floor tiles I'd scrubbed after Derek's Little League games. The dining table where we'd shared birthday cakes and report cards. It felt like all of it had been built on a lie. I didn't call him. I wanted to. I wanted to scream. How could you? But I didn't. Something in me had changed. Instead, I called my friend May, who used to work in real estate law. She confirmed what I suspected: Derek had committed fraud, and I could press charges. But pressing charges meant going public. It meant court. It meant family drama. I didn't want that. So I did something else. I sold the house. I contacted a realtor in secret. I signed the papers within 3 weeks. The house sold fast. It was a good neighborhood, great school district. I used part of the money to pay off the fraudulent loan, cleaned it from my name. Then I set up a trust account in a different bank under a different name in a different state. I bought a cabin in Vermont. A small 2-bedroom log house surrounded by trees, silence, and time. I didn't tell Derek. I didn't tell anyone. I packed my things slowly. I donated the furniture, left no forwarding address, and drove north until the roads felt unfamiliar. The first few days in Vermont were strange. Quiet. Cold. I didn't know anyone. I cooked simple meals and walked through the woods. I spent hours watching birds build nests. I hadn't done that in years, just watching life happen without rushing through it. Then I found the local historical archive and started volunteering. They needed help organizing old photographs and scanning documents. It felt like sorting other people's lives gave me a way to make peace with my own. 2 months later, I received a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Mom, it's me, Derek. Listen, Megan and I are having a bit of a rough patch. Can you call me back? We might need a little help financially. Just for a while. I deleted the message. He called again the next week. Then again. I never answered. Then he emailed me how he got the new email. I don't know. Mom, I know you're upset. I didn't mean for things to get so out of hand. Can we just talk? Please. I almost replied. Almost. But I didn't. Instead, I took a walk. The air smelled like pine and wet leaves. A fox darted past me into the brush. I felt something lift from my chest. Like I'd been carrying a bag of stones for years and finally set it down. That same week, the director of the archive invited me to sit on their board. Said they admired my eye for detail and wanted to hear my voice more. I said yes. I hadn't heard "we want to hear your voice" in a long time. That was a year ago. Today I spend my days surrounded by books, maps, and stories that aren't mine. I listen to the wind rattle the windows at night and feel no fear. I sip tea and hum old songs and remember who I was before motherhood consumed me. Derek never found me. Maybe he stopped looking. Maybe he's still trying. I don't know. And I don't care. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge is silence. It's not yelling. It's not confrontation. It's not slamming doors. It's disappearing so completely that the people who hurt you are left shouting into the void. It's signing new papers under a new name and finally choosing yourself. I know some people might say I was being cold. That a mother should always forgive. That family deserves second chances. But I had given Derek every chance. And when someone uses your love like an ATM, like a ladder, like a punching bag, you don't owe them your peace. You protect it. The first winter in Vermont was tough, I won't lie. I had to learn to split wood, keep pipes from freezing, and shovel snow that came up to my knees. But in that labor I found strength I hadn't felt in years. It reminded me of who I used to be before my world revolved around being Derek's mom. At the archive, I immersed myself in history, families long forgotten, love letters from the 1800s, photos of women who probably also gave too much. One day, while scanning a letter from 1903, a line stood out. "To be silent is to be sovereign." I wrote it down on a slip of paper and taped it to my fridge. It became my motto. Meanwhile, Derek kept trying. A few months later, a letter arrived not from him, but from a lawyer. It was polite, vague, and full of suggestion. Our client believes that certain funds belong to him, having been part of joint household agreements. It made my blood boil. I took it to May again. She smiled, cold and legal. "He's fishing. He has no legal claim. You're clean. And protected." She helped me draft a letter back. 1 page.
No emotion.
Just facts. No more money. No more access. No more Mother's Bank. I mailed it certified. I never heard back from that lawyer again. About 6 months after that, I got word through the grapevine from my old neighbor, Sandra, that Derek and Megan had separated. Apparently, the house they bought together had gone into foreclosure. Creditors were after them. Megan had moved back in with her parents. "He looks thin," Sandra told me. "Lost. Like someone who can't believe his own luck turned on him." I didn't say anything. Just nodded. Because deep inside I knew it wasn't luck. It was consequence. And the strange thing? I didn't feel joy at his misfortune.
No vengeance.
Just stillness. Like a lake after a storm. I had done nothing loud. No confrontation, no slap, no viral moment of exposure. Just quietly unplugged the machine he used to drain me. And now he had to power himself. I started saving again. Not for him. For me. For the first time, I traveled just because I wanted to. A train to Boston. A bus ride to Montreal. I walked through museums and galleries. Ate alone in quiet cafes. Wrote poetry in the margins of library books. Everywhere I went, I left little pieces of my story.
Courtesy.
Gentle. Liberated. One late autumn day, I got invited to speak at the archive's annual fundraising gala. Me, Joan Whitmore, a woman who'd once been seated by the kitchen doors, now standing in front of donors and scholars, telling them about the power of forgotten stories, about how women, especially older women, hold history in their bones and are too often erased. I told a story that night, not mine, but close. About a woman in the 1920s who disappeared from her town after being betrayed by her own son. She'd left no trace except a single letter to her sister that read, "He used my name to build his world, but I will use my silence to rebuild mine." The room was quiet when I finished. A few people even cried. Later, a woman approached me, probably in her 40s. She held my hand and whispered, "Your story saved me." That's when I realized my revenge was never really about Derek. It was about me. Months passed. Life grew gentle. I hosted small dinners with the few friends I'd made, other women who'd escaped different kinds of hurt. We shared recipes, secrets, laughs. I planted flowers in spring, baked pumpkin bread in fall, and fed chickadees in winter. Then one Sunday I heard a knock at my cabin door. I froze. No one ever came uninvited. I peeked through the window. It was Derek. He looked older, hair thinning, face pale, eyes sunken. He stood there, clutching something. I waited. He knocked again. Softly this time. I didn't open the door. Instead, I watched him from behind the curtain. He stayed there for a minute or two. Then slowly, he placed a letter by the door and walked away. His shoulders hunched. His steps heavy. I waited another 5 minutes before opening it. The envelope was hand-addressed. Inside a short note. Mom, I don't know where to begin. I'm sorry for everything. Not because things went badly, but because I finally understand what I did. I hope one day you can forgive me. There was no request for money.
No menipjelästen.
Just regret. I didn't cry. I didn't reply. I simply folded the letter and tucked it inside my grandmother's Bible right next to a photograph of Derek as a boy in his first church suit. That's where it belongs. Not as a new beginning, but as a closed chapter. These days I sit on the porch of my cabin with a mug of chamomile, watching the mist roll off the hills. The wind is kind here. The silence is safe. People sometimes ask me if I miss him. I miss the boy. The soft-cheeked boy who used to bring me dandelions and beg me to sing him to sleep. But the man? The man who forged my signature, humiliated me at his wedding, and drained my savings like I was nothing more than a wallet with a pulse? No, I don't miss him. Because the most powerful thing I ever did wasn't yelling at him. It wasn't taking him to court. It wasn't even disappearing. It was rebuilding. With grace. With quiet fire. And sometimes when the birds sing and the trees sway just right, I laugh. Because they sat me by the kitchen with cold leftovers. But I served myself a new life hot, whole and mine. So if you're listening right now and someone made you feel small if they stole from you, broke your trust, or treated you like an afterthought, let this be your sign. You don't need revenge to win. You just need distance, a plan, and the courage to start over.
Moral lesson.
True power lies not in revenge, but in reclaiming your dignity, quietly rebuilding your life, and walking away with grace and strength. Drop your city in the comments if this touched your heart. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it today.